let's say who's to blame for these Cali wildfires. I haven't reviewed a CNN panel, especially one with Jasmine Crockett on it lately. Let's get into it. Make sure I hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock.
President Trump has raised the issue of FEMA not having enough money, et cetera. This is your territory. Is the Congress going to fully fund what California needs in order to handle these fires, to recover from them if it's needed?
Absolutely, we should. This, of course, is a town that constantly disappoints people, but shame on all of us if we don't acknowledge that these disasters hit every state, and this is a really big one. People need to expect that their state, local, and federal government are going to be there, and we need to be.
I think that members always end up coming together when it comes to these disasters and doing the right thing by the people that are there. What really becomes the glue that puts it all together is the actual execution of the resources. And that's something that I think members of Congress need to do a much better job about, is making sure that the money gets on the ground to the people who need it the most in the manner and the speed at which
And just in December, we did together, Republicans and Democrats, refill much of that disaster fund. This is going to take a lot of money out of that.
So we are in, it's January 8th. President Trump is going to be inaugurated in just a few days.
About to say.
The incoming president, I hate to say it, but he has a history of threatening to not fund fire relief, specifically to California.
What did they do to Puerto Rico? I mean, we spent historic amounts of money on Puerto Rico.
Let me just play what President Trump said.
I love him.
This was just
He
in
always
October
call them out
about
on ABS. Love it when he call them out on ABS.
actually fires in California.
We're going to take care of our farmers. We're going to take care of your water situation. And we'll force it down his throat. And we'll say, Gavin, if you don't do it, we're not giving you any of that fire money that we send you all the time for all the forest fires that you have.
What's the problem with that? Hey, listen, if you don't take care of the farmers, if you don't get your water situation together, if you don't do this, why would we continue to give you money on the back end when you're not being proactive of what we told you make the most sense on the front end? Apparently, you don't want federal dollars because you're going to do what you want to do anyway, but you expect for the American taxpayers across the entire nation to come and save you. And see, that's the part that people don't have a conversation about. Y'all keep acting like this is y'all money. This is all of our money. When the federal government got to come in and save California, when the federal government got to come in and save you with disaster relief, this is our money. This ain't just singular to California anymore. When Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass and all of these stupid mayors and their entire cabinet and these legislators don't do what they supposed to do, when they cut in certain budgets, when they then put themselves in this position where they then cause trillions of dollars in damages, and we got to keep rebuilding you, but you're not doing the thing that we told you to prevent this in the first place. You don't even have no water. Why should the American taxpayers have to keep bailing y'all out just because you saying that you want it? I'm trying to understand what's the disagreement here? Hey man, take care of this, do this, take care of this business. This is the criteria that you need in order to continue to get these tax dollars. What's the disagreement? They played that clip like that was something against Trump. Hey man, if you want this fire money, this is what you got to do. You shouldn't even be needing this type of money if you do what we told you to do in the first place.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say is that I would feel more comfortable if we decided to send additional resources to FEMA now before he is sworn into office. So my challenge, my charge to the newly elected Speaker of the House is let's get a bill on the floor. Let's come together just like we came together when it dealt with Georgia and North Carolina and Florida. And let's make sure that California has the resources without delay and make sure that there is no planned politics, because if you trust what he's...
You said that? Nabby says, Anton, Pacific Palisades is a small area compared to the whole of LA. Yeah, but they got 5 fires burning at the same time and it's 0% contained. So I'm not concerned with what's just happened because it just started this weekend. I'm concerned about what is going to turn out to be if they ever start to get it contained, because right now everything is on fire.
Says he has already made it clear that he likes to pick and choose who it is that he wants to support. And while the Congress may come together, I don't know what he's going to do with the veto pen. So I think that we should get it done while we still have a President Joe Biden.
Look, the Congress and the president, whether they do it now or 2 weeks from now, is going to obviously fund this and take care of this, and they need to. It's important. However, I do think this. Policy changes should come along with this relief money here, with whatever it takes to rebuild and to fix. We have to look at the root causes, whatever forest management problems there are, whatever water problems there are, whatever issues happen in the local governance. Rebuilding here is a good thing, and everybody should support it, but we ought to, as taxpayers, expect necessary policy changes at the federal, state, and local level so that it doesn't happen again.
Does that include climate change and
And he's absolutely right. It's not just about funding the rebuilding effort or any of this type of stuff, because obviously we know that Trump is going to take care of that. And one thing that Trump has always said is that I'm the president of everybody, even if you didn't necessarily vote for me. He's the only president that don't even take a salary. He's never taken a salary. He's the only president that doesn't even get paid for his job. He doesn't even get paid for his job. But more importantly, we need to have legislation. We need to have proactive measures. We also need to revisit why we in this situation in the first place. And if it's a water issue, fix it. If it's clearing of the brush and all of this other stuff, fix it. I would rather see the money proactively go towards stuff that would allow for us not to have to, on the back end, fund so much money and say, hey, we got to fix the situation. If we can mitigate a lot of these problems, then we should. And why aren't we? And why is the only part of the conversation about rebuilding efforts? Everybody want to have a conversation once it hits, but nobody wants to talk about how we prevent it in the first place. He's absolutely right to call her up on her BS.
Clearly, we need to be good stewards of the environment. And America, I think, has a better track record on this front than most people give us credit for. The reality is, in the last few years, we've reduced our carbon footprint by more than the next 15 carbon-reducing countries combined. I would say this. Clearly, President Trump speaks from the stump in a very different way than I do. It said that you campaign in poetry and you govern in prose. We actually know how this guy is going to govern. He was president for 4 years. He didn't cut off funding. He didn't look at people whose homes were burned down and say, forget about it. You had a Biden sign in your yard, so we're just going to pass on by your home. Those things did happen in the last administration, probably in a narrow way.
Facts, especially with FEMA. And the woman that was fired as a result of it because she knew about it and she was participating in it, and they wouldn't even go to people's houses that had a Trump sign in front of it in the first place. That is a fact.
But I got to tell you, Donald Trump will be there to help out people in California. He was there 4 years ago. He'll be there now.
I'm just going to read one quote. We have several of them from his time in office, but just one as it relates to this. This is Kevin Carroll, a former Homeland Security official, told the New York Times and Politico and The Guardian, Trump absolutely didn't want to give aid to California or Puerto Rico purely for partisan politics. I hear what you're saying about the hurricanes, what happened in North Carolina and Florida. I do, though, think that there is a track record here of Trump, too, where his own aides, there are several others I didn't read, but his own
What track
aides
record? What is she talking about?
They had to convince him that there were votes there for him.
Well, I think
but
there are no votes in Puerto Rico.
I think what's going to be
How is there
important,
votes in Puerto Rico?
is
Which
that
is why
we have-
they didn't.
But what did we do? I mean,
Let me finish.
people make this
Excuse me,
allegation
Scott, let me
about Puerto
finish.
Rico,
What I
but it's
think
like we
what
funded
is
it.
going to be important is when the Senate is confirming those cabinet members.
That's what I was about to
speaking
say.
with them about what their policy ideas are and what they're going to do. Because when you're reading things like that, we recognize that it was the individuals who were there as experts, cabinet members, officials, who were able to convince the president to do certain things or convince him not to do other things. And we want to make sure that those great minds are still there for him to be able to provide that guidance and support so that when Congress does give bills, good people like Desi and others who are working on these things, to be able to put it in front of him to get him to sign it and to do the right thing.
I think that that's really the big issue, is that he was surrounded by what I would consider to be actual experts, people that had actual resumes talking of diversity, equity, inclusion, and people just get.
I'm going to play that for y'all one more time. I caught that at the end.
People that had actual resumes talking of diversity, equity, inclusion, and people just getting jobs and they're not qualified.
Did she just throw diversity, equity, and inclusion in there as a justification for the right people around Trump to help him make decisions and give him their expert opinion? Did she seriously just say diversity, equity, and inclusion? Let me see something. I just got to look up something real quick because I want to hold some people accountable. Jasmine Felicia Crockett who has been a U.S. representative of Texas's 30th congressional district since January 2023. South Dallas, Central Dallas, and Dallas Love Field Airport. Y'all still voting in Jasmine Crockett from St. Louis, 43 years old? Seriously? Y'all still rocking out with Jasmine Crockett? Good God.
I mean, when you look at the people that he has decided to nominate for these posts, we're talking about people that have never served a day in a lot of these various agencies that he's now like, oh, you should go ahead and head this agency. He has specifically decided that loyalist is who he wants around him. People that will not give him that honest kind of reflective moment and say, you know what? This isn't what we do. And that is my biggest concern about this. And listen, I wasn't here serving as a member of Congress, so I can't say what he did and didn't do from an up.
So you don't know your history? Got it.
And personal perspective when he was in office before. But what I can say is what he threatens to do, along with the judgment that we've seen thus far going into the second administration, his judgment is way worse. I mean, looking at just the cabinet picks.
And somebody get Jasmine Crockett out of here, bro. And I agree, she is full of hate. I believe she is absolutely racist. I think that she is hateful. I don't think that she cares for anything other than black women. And I believe that she's liberal to her heart. And these type of people need to be driven out of office and voted out of office, and she need to go and get a regular everyday job. I think that she needs to go and get a regular everyday job. Real talk. That's just my opinion. Anyways, I want to show y'all why women shouldn't be in positions of leadership. All right, let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to come back to this. We're going to come back. Because some of y'all, I could tell you a little bit bothered by the whole leadership conversation, but we'll get there.